It's AI. Please don't run away. I know you might have heard a lot about this over the last couple of weeks, couple of months, and maybe even a couple of years. It's not replacing high performers. AI is not replacing those people. It is accelerating those who know how to use it.
Hey, welcome to the Sales Squad Pod, the show that breaks down the skills sellers need to crush quota and advance their career. Hosted by Lisa, a top enterprise AE, Sarita, a frontline leader, and Donna, a former leader of leaders. We met in the sales trenches at Salesforce. We're moms, we've carried a bag for decades, we've gone to club, and we've got you. If you're ready to up-level your game and career, let's jump into it.
Hey, what's going on, Sales Squad Pod? It has been a minute, but I am certainly excited to welcome you all back to our Sales Squad Pod. Of course, I'm joined by Donna and Lisa, and today I'll tell you that I am super excited about the conversation. We're going to talk about how sellers and leaders can use AI as a force multiplier, not a crutch, across execution, across your strategy, and of course, across career growth. This is a topic I think is a little bit taboo for some people. Some may be afraid to jump into it, but this is exactly why I wanted to talk about this. It's going to reshape those sales roles. It's going to be that differentiator on are you fluent in AI language? I look at it as a language. That's what AI is. So let's dig into it.
I am jumping in full feet. I am an early adopter of this. Anything that can take additional steps out of my day, I'm definitely going to jump all over.
It's a really exciting time to be able to work with all the tools at our disposal. I started my business and AI was available to me. I do not think I could have done this as quickly and scaled it like I have if it wasn't for the tools that AI gave me. And now I look back at my time in leadership, having used AI so much in my own business, I think about how all the ways I could have applied it better when I was in a leadership role. And so I'm very excited to talk today about AI and what we should be thinking about.
At the end of the day, AI is already changing whatever job or role that you're in today. Not in 5 years, not eventually. It's already happening and it's already here to stay. Every seller, every manager, every leader is sitting somewhere on that spectrum, even on the call today, where a little bit between curiosity and fear and understanding and jumping in both feet. Some of us are just still experimenting with this, and some are pretending it's just hype. But here's what I've observed from a sales team perspective, and from especially in a high performance SaaS environment. AI is really starting to expose the people who are the average on execution. It really boils down to, do you have the opportunity and availability to take a quick step to understand how to sharpen your messaging? Maybe it's about rehearsing your objections. Perhaps it's about analyzing your pipeline patterns. So before we jump into the nitty-gritty of this, what would you do if you could have AI do anything? Just a fun question to kick us off.
It's interesting how my mind goes to the physical realm. So I want to get me an AI-driven robot that has built in all of the information that it needs to know exactly what my needs are before I even realize what my needs are.
Yeah. Anything that I can use to limit the amount of time that I am doing these things that take me away from my kids and my family, I am all over.
Hey, I agree. So how do we now think about this in our day-to-day terms? We think about you, Lisa, being an enterprise account executive, me on the front line, and Donna, leader of leaders, but then turned into the entrepreneurship side. I would love us to talk a little bit about preparing for meetings. Day-to-day, I assume you're doing that. What does it look like for you? What steps do you take to prepare for your meetings using AI?
Yeah, I use it for strategic outcomes. I think everyone is using it to write emails, to do outreach. The way that I use it is I always say, here's the scenario. These are the outcomes that I'm hoping to achieve. And let's strategize together. So I always tell it the outcomes that I want instead of saying like, here's the scenario. What should I say? I do think that we need to go one step deeper with AI, or it comes off as very AI-esque, that we need to say, ask me the questions that you don't know. Let's get deeper. Let's dig in. Let's get a little bit more niched. But that's one of the things I use it to prep for every meeting.
I think that is one of the amazing elements is you can give it guardrails. I write newsletters, I write LinkedIn posts, and I have different folders for each type of content that I'm doing. And within the folder, I'll say a newsletter, I want it to be between 800 and 1,000 words. I find, obviously, AI voice is very different. I typically write my content, put it into AI, and get it to clean it up. I don't think AI first generated content is at the quality that I want it to be at all. It sounds robotic. It sounds like that robot, the housekeeping robot, wrote it. And so I don't typically use AI to generate. I use it to edit. And I think that is an amazing tool because it can allow you to just refine your thoughts. Sometimes I will do a voice note for myself and then transcribe that and put that into AI and say, these are all my thoughts on this topic. Help me organize it. And you go from there.
I like that. You're not relying on AI to do the tasks for you, but you are using it to sort of help subsidize what you're already doing, making the tasks that little bit easier, a little bit faster, and giving you the opportunity to sort of refine what you do on a day-to-day basis. Donna, I'd be curious to understand from you, let's say you were still leading a large organization. What do you think you would expect your managers to be doing with AI? Should they be relying solely on this? What should they be doing and what shouldn't they be doing?
Let me take a different perspective on that question. It's how, if I was a manager, how would I use it? And that's because I think every leader has their own level of comfort with these tools. And so I have never been focused on the how exactly you are going to get to that end place because everyone's going to be different. And everyone's going to take a different path. But for me, it firstly comes down to data. And we had a podcast about data and the ability to lead with data. I think AI has given us a really unique opportunity where we can leverage it to draw patterns from data. So specifically, being able to put data into your tool of choice and say, tell me what I am not seeing from this data. What patterns are you seeing? And specifically for me, I would be interested, if I was a first-time leader, the data from an AE perspective. So I would look at data for my individual contributors on my team and try to link and find the patterns of closed revenue and activities. So what is the average number of meetings, emails, activity, whatever input you want to measure, and how does that relate to closed won business? And what are the patterns we're seeing? And what are the benchmarks? And who is doing this really well? Or who's losing all the deals at stage 1 or in stage 2 and not able to get it over the line? And who's really good at that? Who has always been able to get to stage 3? And then you see these patterns and be able to draw insights to say, ooh, I need to connect Billy with Sally because Billy's really good at this and Sally's really great at this. And I think they could be great peer mentors for each other. So I think leveraging data is bar none the first thing I would do.
We were in a call yesterday. I was presenting on how to get on site. And they started the discussion with a percentage, the fun, what are these two numbers? And they were looking at the patterns of when we get on site and what percentage of deals over 5K MRR close. And I love what you said, Donna, in there around the patterns, because without AI, that would have been somebody digging through just to pull out that one nugget of information. And that would have taken hours. So what they looked at was, of the deals we have won, how often did we win when we were on site? And that percentage doubled. So when we are on site, we win more than 50% of the deals. And so I just think about, as a leader, what are the nuggets that you can pull out and then translate that into a business value case? We need more T&E. If we're closing more than 50% of our deals when we get on site, everyone should be on site. And when we're not on site, that dropped to around 25%.
That is very interesting data to know. How I have been doing this so far is definitely heavy for me on pipeline patterns and then coaching gaps. Pipeline gaps is important because, like you said, Donna, what types of activities, how many activities does it take potentially to generate X number in pipeline generation? With the introduction of AI, it's made my job certainly a lot easier to be able to find those pipeline gaps. When it comes to coaching gaps, it's easy to continuously plug in your one-on-ones and let the data and the AI learn from what you're doing. starts to understand your reps more, which is interesting. And it starts to actually tell you a little bit more about, hey, this time 6 months ago, rep A was doing this extremely well, and this has decreased over time. So I love that it pulls out this information for me. It helps me to identify a lot of these gaps, and it really puts me in a position to coach my reps in a way that I think that they're grateful for. I'm also grateful for it as well.
Sarita, on that note regarding using AI for coaching conversations, I want to say that AI is only going to analyze what it hears. So, what is said in the meeting. And often with coaching, it's a lot about what is unsaid and trying to understand and dig deeper. If I were to use AI for a coaching conversation, because you are trying to understand how do I get more from this conversation, asking what could I have asked, or how could I frame my questions in a different way in order to elicit more information and open up that aperture so that I can get to know my rep better or get down to the really real nitty gritty of the problems they are experiencing.
Even one step further is, how do I ask those questions in such a way that that person's not defensive if this is a sensitive topic that we are going to discuss? And I mean, that might be controversial because we're humans first. You shouldn't have to ask AI how to be a human. But I do think that there's different styles and there's different ways that you can soften that language based on the personality of that AE or leader.
I teach in my training classes all the time with respects to coaching questions. Do not start your questions with the word why. Instead of asking why didn't you hit quota, you start your questions with what and how. What got in the way of you hitting quota? How are you going to change your process this month to ensure you hit quota? These are very different questions when received by the AE, because why can elicit that defensive mode, I'm being interrogated, versus what and how questions open up a conversation and a dialogue. So Lisa, I think you're spot on, but it's so important because how we frame our questions matters. How you ask the question matters, and it will completely change the dynamic in a conversation.
Definitely agreed. What stands out to me about what you both just said is the component of this that is something must remain deeply human. No matter how much AI comes into play and no matter how much access we have, and eventually when we do get our AI robots to do our laundry, we still need something that is deeply human. So Lisa, talk to me a little bit about on the enterprise space. Relationships are key in moving opportunities along, in managing your book of business. Talk to me a little bit about what you believe are the areas that will consistently remain completely human, that AI potentially will never replace.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's the relationships. And so we know that when folks come to purchase technology, they've already done their research. About 80% of that research is already completed, and they're probably using AI to do it. So they're asking, compare these two products against one another. So when you actually have the chance to meet that person or start the selling process where they already know up to about 80% what they're going to purchase, it comes down to how they feel about you. Do they trust you? Do they want to get in a business relationship with you? Those things really matter. So if you can get on site so that person can actually get to know you as a person, I think you're just going to have that percentage of closed sales is just going to be so much higher. The method of sales that our organization currently uses right now is MedPick. And MedPick is so important, right? And you can go through AI and ask it, hey, what questions should I ask to hit my metrics, to find out who the economic buyer is? I use AI in order to develop those questions. But I do feel that in this world of AI, that MedPick should have a V somewhere in it for vibes. Someone wants to feel that they are speaking to a human and not just a robot. And so we use Gong, and what it will do is it will go through all of the conversations that you've had. And on the side of it, it will say, okay, did we hit metrics? Did we hit who the economic buyer is? And so on and so on. And so I can start to see like gaps in my sales calls about what am I missing and what do I still need to uncover in order to have the highest percentage to close. But I mean, that V, the vibes, is so important in this world that we just really need to create those relationships, nurture those relationships, and have people trust you, because ultimately people buy from people they like.
Vibes is what's going to keep us employed,
Yeah,
friend. Without vibes, the robots would be taking our jobs,
it's
right? And
true.
I think that is our a competitive advantage. And it's not only our competitive advantage against other humans selling other competing products, but also them just going to the website and chatting to the AI chatbot and buying product that way. So I think you're spot on, Lisa. I love that vibe check on Gong. We feature requests, please. Love it.
I love the vibe check. I mean, it's what we do naturally, right? When something is spit out of any AI tool, we reread it, we double check, we make sure it sounds a little bit more like us before we potentially send over the email, use it in a voicemail, whatever it may be. It's funny, a funny story for the Sales Squad pod here. Recently, I was in a back and forth negotiation over email. Don't ask why it was over email. Tried very hard to get the person on the phone. They were adamant to have this over email. And I started to understand why. Of course, this person was using AI to help them to negotiate. And the reason why it became very obvious was because at one point they forgot to remove, and this was a VP of communications, and they responded to our email with the prompt at the beginning of the email. So the top of the email said, here's the response that's sets the tone, still strong, but puts you in a position to win this opportunity, something along those lines. And of course, this email was shared around all the leadership. We shared it with our reps, and we said, this is what not to do when you are using AI. Make sure you triple check the work that you have put in, because that can happen very, very.
It's wild. Sarita, I'm so interested though. Now you're on the receiving end of it, right? As a salesperson. Do you feel like the buyer actually got more? Maybe you can't say this for confidentiality, but did they get more out of the deal because they leveraged AI and did that over email? Or do you actually think they probably could have had a better outcome if they had just gotten on the phone with you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all about the phone. If you can get me on the phone, you likely are going to get more concessions, more understanding. I get where you're trying to be, so let me make it easy for you. At the end of the day, we're all working towards the same goal. We're all trying to get this deal done and move on to the next thing, because we all have so much on our plates in general. Had this happened in a phone call, it would have, first of all, taken maybe 10 minutes maximum. The things that were being asked for were not necessarily difficult, but because it was prompted so many times through AI, I could tell that I kept asking myself, what does this person want? I still didn't understand what the person wanted. We eventually got to the conclusion and figured it out. And I think she was very apologetic, of course, because, she realized that this was in her email. But at the end of the day, it's just that friendly reminder to us that that human side of it, triple check, because AI gets you maybe, let's say, 75% of the way there. You have got to put your human side in there and get you the rest of the way.
I think it comes back to that relationship as well, because as much as I'm saying they need to trust us, they need to like us, I want to like them too, because I am a human. So I will give more concessions, to your point, Sarita. I think people are underestimating the power that they have to negotiate in person versus hiding behind an email. Because an email is a if and then, right? If you ask for this, then I'm asking for this. But in person, there's more room. I'll call it error. There's more room for error for their benefit, because I am more likely to concede, to your point.
For me, it's also the sea of same over email. You should see my email inbox. The number of emails I receive that, first of all, that I can tell that they came from some, AI generated mass production email. I don't even open these emails anymore. But I'll tell you, if somebody calls my cell phone, I'm likely going to answer, because I would like to know who's on the other side. And I'm curious to know why they're calling. And whoever had the guts to call me, kudos to you, because I'll likely answer and at least give you some time to understand where you're coming from. The other way that I've seen AI help with reps elevating their game is really to change that shift from feature selling to that business impact language. And I think about generally when we talk about how AI is going to change the SaaS selling world, in my opinion, it's going to change wholeheartedly. I mean, we talk about carrying a bag. We talk about when we were in AEs, in quote unquote my day and age. Don't get me wrong, I'm not that old, but shoot, I think about how difficult it was to just prepare for selling situations, what it looked like, and just my day to day. How much do you think AI is going to change the way SaaS sellers do their day-to-day jobs?
I think it's going to change the industry in general. I have started to see a lot more SaaS 2.0. And so SaaS is that software as a service. And I think it's going to turn into service as a software where we're only selling outcomes. So every single organization out there is creating their autonomous agent. And so what I believe is going to happen is when we're selling, we're going to have to orchestrate that conversation instead of saying, hey, how many seats do you need in order to get your actual people to do this business function for your organization. It's going to turn into, okay, well, if I can get agents to redline 80% of this document or 80% of all of your documents or just everything a paralegal does, then how much are we going to charge? And so I think we're going to have to get really strong on our business value cases and the outcomes that we are trying to achieve. I think organizations and the way that they train their sellers is really going to have to change, where we are outcome based only and no longer will be selling seats, we'll be selling feature functionality. It's definitely going to change.
For me as a leader, one of the hardest challenges when coaching a rep or anyone is developing business and financial acumen. Business acumen is such a difficult, nebulous thing and skill to teach. And often I struggled with this as a leader when I felt like someone just really wasn't getting it on what are the tools that they could employ in order to improve in this area. AI is that tool because you can ask AI the stupidest questions. You can say, how does this company make money? And they will answer and you'll say, what does that actually mean? Because when you're trying to do research on companies and you look at their websites, the jargon that is out there, you don't actually know what do they actually do and how do they make money? And so being able to ask AI to dig deeper and ask what exactly they mean by that term, you have this conversation, you gain understanding, and you develop your business acumen in a way that would not be possible by just looking at their website and researching what they do.
On that note too, it's really asking like, and who are their competitors and what do their competitors do and why do they see them as competitors? So I love that, Donna. I feel that with AI, there's nothing I cannot do. I am going to go into every meeting prepared. I am going to be an all-star negotiator. I'm going to be an all-star account planning developer. It's just, I feel like if you are not prepared, those are the people, Sarita, that are just going to get eliminated and they're not going to keep up because there's no reason for you not to be prepared for legal calls, for procurement calls, for business calls, for CFO calls. There's just no excuse anymore.
Agree. And these are the types of people that are getting left behind. The underperformers, unfortunately, are the ones that haven't leaned into this piece. I get it. It can be scary to jump in, all AI, but at the very least, you want to make sure that you are preparing yourself for the conversations to bring in your human side.
So AI, I think, is an incredible tool as you go more senior. And that's because we all know the expression, it's lonely at the top. In my last role, my boss had over 200 people in his organization. He simply did not have the time to spend with me. He was lovely, but I didn't get a ton of time with him. Of course not. I owned the Canadian business, which was a very small percentage of his overall remit. And because of that, I didn't have a ton of opportunity to get time with my own leader. And also, I had fewer peers to work with. And so I think AI became a little bit of a thought partner for me where I was able to leverage it to be a sparring partner. I have this problem. How should I be thinking about it? And leveraging the voice functionality, it's a paid feature in ChatGPT, but it is amazing to be able to just speak and have a conversation with AI and get help as you work through a problem. As you get more senior, those problems just get bigger and the number of people that can help you gets smaller. And so I think it is an opportunity for us as leaders to get more support as we get more senior.
The call out on a sparring partner certainly resonates with me. somebody to bounce ideas off, to bounce your conversations off, and to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. I love that. So really for me, AI is that preparation accelerator for the reps, meeting prep, the messaging refinement, the conversation refinement. From a leader standpoint, it allows and helps us to identify pipeline patterns and the coaching gaps, what Donna talked about performance management and using the data and how to ask the right questions. And AI also helps reps from a standpoint of removing that feature selling to more business impact language and change. So if you're not leveraging AI today, lean in. That's all we've got today from the Sales Squad Pod. We hope you found this interesting and useful and tactical for your day-to-day. We'll catch you in our next episode. Bye. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Sales Squad Pod. We're building a community of serious sellers and leaders who want to operate at the next level, and we're glad you're part of it. If you found value in today's conversation, we would love to hear from you. Send us questions you'd like us to tackle in future episodes, and whether you're listening on Apple or Spotify, be sure to hit like, follow, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram and YouTube at Sales Squad Pod.